Try to be one of those on whom nothing is lost. Henry James.
If you have to make notes on how a thing has struck you, it probably hasn't struck you. Henry James.
Good morning. Now, I'm not sure, but I just may be the only person to begin their chapel talk by offering a quote with which they do not agree. Not to mention two conflicting quotes from the same individual. But, like I said, I'm not sure. And a long time ago, a much wiser man than me once said that his goal in life was to never be sure. There's a lot to be said for embracing uncertainty. But back to the quotes, and specifically the second one, which Mr. Tad Erickson so wonderfully read. If you have to make notes on how a thing has struck you, it probably hasn't struck you. Now, to be clear, I'm not giving you all license to stop taking notes in your classes. So, that's not where I'm going with this. Indira and Abby, my AP Art History party of two, you still have a few weeks of note-taking left before the AP exam. I offer the second quote for a different reason. To try and convince you that making notes on things might be worth your time. Perhaps you'll disagree with my disagreement. Perhaps you won't. That's okay. But for what it's worth, my first quote, try to be one of those on whom nothing is lost, should also suggest that Henry James, who was an author, by the way, didn't really think that recollection was a waste of time. So these are my journals. In them, I make notes on things. Oftentimes, I make notes on how many things have struck me. When asked what objects I'd save if, God forbid, I lost everything, my most immediate answer would be these, which would definitely upset my mother, who has gifted me countless photo albums. In any case, I love my journals. I love noting that which has struck me. And I make notes because I believe that there are remarkable things all around us. I only recently started keeping them, these journals. The first page of my first journal is dated November 16, 2016. It's 8 days after my 22nd birthday and a considerable way into a very hard year for me. My circumstances are not worth going into, but put simply, I was sad. How are you was the question I would inevitably and innocuously receive what felt like 100 times each day. And I dreaded answering, either answering it dishonestly or at all. To be sure, journaling was not my most immediate strategy for feeling better. I only considered the practice after talking to my older brother, Marshall. Over the course of my brief time here at Westminster, you may have heard me brag about him. Suffice to say, he is wise. And I can still recall talking to him on the phone, asking him how I could possibly get a handle on all the things that I felt were going wrong in my life. Journaling, I said hesitantly over the phone. How do you even do that? I wouldn't know what to write. Coincidentally, that's usually the response I receive when I encourage people to try. Just write anything, Marshall replied. Draw pictures, make to-do lists. Just give it a try and don't be discouraged if you forget to do it every once in a while. When I hung up the phone, I could not have really known that Marshall's advice that evening would change my life. I should say that my initial attempts were curious. On the very first page, I have written, "Being around people is great!" Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. It's tough, I know, but I was just figuring it out. I didn't know the rules. I wasn't even sure there were rules. It took 4 or 5 journal entries to even realize that I had been referring to myself in the second person, as you. Slowly but surely, words did start to flow. I am by no means an artist, but even a few, albeit rough, drawings happened to appear. And I found that I was processing everything that was going on in my life with a distinct sense of hope, of growth, appreciation, humility, and clarity, even when I wasn't quite sure the direction in which I was headed. Some entries took on and continue to hold more significance than others. June 4th, 2017, for instance. On that day, I wrote the following. Do you see that date in the corner? That means you graduated from Williams. Your feelings are mixed, sadness for sure, regret, disappointment, uncertainty, all of it. But today you walked by so many faces, family, friends, faculty, and you were certain of the mark you've made on this school, and of course, the mark is made on you. Be energized by this. The project of life continues, and oh, what you've learned. I know you're a positive, hopeful man. I know you'll never let go of that. I'm proud of you. Of me. We did it. Let these moments forever be remembered. The summer that followed was a whirlwind. On July 11th, 2017, which reads in my notation 7/11/17, I made particular note of a sad, inconspicuous detail, that 7-Eleven only serves free Slurpees between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. Having arrived late, I felt I had been swindled. Later in the summer, I wrote the following, documenting some of my earliest encounters with Westminster folks and the cross-country team's secret love of the Twilight Saga. The first day of August, the month when things really get going. Camp is over and it was not bad at all. These cross-country kids are wildly endearing, though they did keep calling me a vampire. To those of you who are confused, you can follow up with Emmett on that one. 192 pages later, on August 26th, I had filled my first journal. For reference, that was roughly a week before my life at Westminster began in earnest, when you all arrived. The final page of my final journal reads as follows. Well, it's my final page in this journal that saved my life, which means I saved my life. That process involves referring to me as you, and I had to make sure that didn't mean I was crazy. A lot has changed during this book's life. I became a boarding school teacher. I fell in love. I'm more patient, empathetic, introspective, and optimistic, but it's not all roses. If anything, this journal is tangible evidence of growth, and I have plenty more growing to do. How is my relationship with my parents, for instance? Am I working as hard as I could be? Am I remaining a good friend? Am I being selfish? What's my mission? Thank you, journal, from the bottom of my heart. You're going to stay with me, don't worry, and you'll get friends soon enough. True to my word, I've gone on to fill a few more. This maroon journal being my current one. For over a year, I've been making notes on my life very nearly each day. And I would not want it any other way. So why? Why, by my approximation was Henry James wrong when he said, if you have to make notes on how a thing has struck you, it probably hasn't struck you. Well, I firmly believe that life and each day that comprises it is worth remembering and reflecting on. The good days and the bad days. The thing is, if I ever forget, and sometimes I do, my journals can remind me of any one of the following 4 things, or perhaps all of them at once. First, there is always something for which I can be grateful. One journaling practice that I have maintained, and it's not of my own invention, is writing 3 or more things for which I am grateful that happened during the day that's passed. I've never been stumped. Looking back through the journal I started in conjunction with the beginning of the school year, I felt warmed by the compassion that you all have continually shown me. The decanter Devaney clan truly treating me as one of their own. Mr. Jonkus calling me over to his table after lunch to really check in on me during a fast-paced call. Mrs. Jonkus doing the same, treating me to a characteristically spirited pep talk in the history department office. Moral philosophy, welcoming me with open arms as their guest. Mrs. Wood being, well, Mrs. Wood. The list is long, and it includes so much of this community. My fantastic motley crew of advisees, the Cushing boys, whom I am publicly predicting will make a run in this season of stickball, Mr. Wiseman. Block 1, history. Block 2, history. And of course, this wildly supportive faculty and staff. Second, words on feelings. I've shared this phrase with a few of you, but now I can share it with all of you. It has been, for me, crucial. Feelings are tricky things, and even trickier when left invisible, floating around in our cluttered heads. So why not pin them to the page so that we might better understand them? At the very least, putting words on our feelings can help us recognize that what we're experiencing is real, and that those feelings, whatever they are, will ultimately forge who we become. Third, if these journals were solely a means by which I could spend a few minutes reflecting on my day, there'd be no point in keeping them, right? The thing is, these journals are far more enduring than that. Life-changing decisions were literally made within these books. They're sort of like the encyclopedia of me, and I can consult them whenever I need, which is more often than you might think. At the very least, perhaps this talk is evidence of the potential amusement one can find when they go digging through their written past. So, fourth, and finally, I leave you with this. We all have our own story. To acknowledge yours could radically change your frame of mind. Could change your entire life. So please, make note of anything and everything that strikes you. Begin crafting your story, and do the world a favor by sharing. Because while I hesitate to be sure, I'll bet your story is worth remembering. Thank you.